Okay, maybe it's actually working. Third time lucky. I had 2 failed attempts at creating a stream. Apologies for that. I'll try and delete the old ones. Let me set some music up in the meantime while I do this, and hopefully I don't delete the wrong one. Right, okay. So I think that's working now. Let's get started once we let people know about this. I'm still on this giant screen. Oh, should go on Twitter as well. Go. Cool. Right, so I think we're good. Still on this homemade setup in Geneva. And let's take down the music and get started. So welcome to the daily NFT market health analysis with me, Daniel Tenner, aka Swombat, where we're going to look at what's happening in the market in terms of data and use a bit of knowledge of what's happened before in similar circumstances to try and understand what might happen next. Because of course, like sometimes data can be misleading. You know, there's all kinds of ways that data can mislead you. It's not enough to look at a chart. You need to understand why the chart is moving in a certain way, what might happen next, and so on. But if you were to look at this chart right now without any understanding of the market context, you might be forgiven for thinking that where the massive bull run has just started, like volumes are up, or like everything's going great, it looks amazing. And even if you're looking at if I look at the top 10 price chart, right, yes, there were some drops before, but look, it looks like maybe it's rising now a little bit. So it could be that looking at this chart, everything looks amazing, but of course we know that's not the case. Because we know that what's going on in the market is not amazing and not happy and not not a good thing. And what we're seeing here are volumes that are correlated to a sell-off rather than to the market picking up and becoming more active. Now, I think that a sell-off where things fall back down to a more reasonable price is a good thing. And that's not actually exactly what's happening. And we're going to look into this a little bit more today. So first of all, let's look at the bar charts, and we can see that the sell-off has happened across multiple markets. You can see it here in the Women-led Projects Index. You can see it here in Zeneca New. You can see it up here. It's actually quite awkward to draw on this screen for some reason. Here in Zeneca Old and here in the top 10. There's an HDMI interface. It's slower. It makes the cursor more laggy, and it's more difficult for me to draw easily. Anyway. So we can see that it's happened all over the place. It's happened across multiple projects. It's like, it's been quite consistent across. We can assume that this has happened across the entire market. Now, yesterday, we saw that prices had gone down to BASI, to take one of the simple barometers of this. And if we look at Nifty price, BASI had gone down to 70, and now it's gone back up to 83, so it's bounced up quite sharply from yesterday. Back up to, it dropped 20% from 90 to 70, and now it's gone back up 20% from 70 to 83, which the percentages kind of work out. It's still down on the week, but we're like, okay, so what's going on? Is the market recovering and so on? And I think actually my theory, and this is just my theory, of course, and you don't have to believe my theory, and you might have your own theories. But my theory is what's happening is quite similar to what usually happens in when a project kind of collapses. And yes, I will increase the size of this, just getting my windows in order. So here you can see a screenshot that I recovered from my recycling bin, where this is Azuki, around about when Terra and stuff happen, and it's you can see that it drops very sharply, but then it bounces up almost as sharply, almost recovers back to the same price it was before. It got almost as high as it was before. It was already on a kind of downtrend for a while, but it feels like, you know, that trend was not affected by this bounce, and then it bounces down again, and then again, and then again. And my belief is what happens here is people, traders in particular, looking for short-term returns, see this massive drop, and they think people usually overcorrect in this, and so they buy it thinking it's probably going to return back to the previous price, because it usually does. And then it becomes a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, because if enough traders buy in expecting it to return, then they drive the price up, and they kind of like play this game with each other where, you know, if they time it properly, they manage to make a bit of cash, which, you know, from 8 back up to like 14 or 15 or something, where it went back up. That would be quite a pile of cash that you've made in a relatively short amount of time. Of course, in the long term, this makes no difference. In fact, this continued dropping, and it's currently at about like 9 or something after recovering also from yesterday. And I think this sort of thing is what's happening also across the market to all the projects now. So what we're seeing with these bounces is not that they're like the market is recovering, is that lots of people are seeing like, oh, well, a 20% drop down to 70th in base E, there's got to be money to be made here. And if enough people think like that, enough people go and buy the dip, expecting it to rebound because it's going to overcorrect and stuff, they become, again, a self-fulfilling prophecy, and they end up driving the price up, and they create this bounce that then all these short-term traders end up trading against each other with that. So I think, like, my theory is that's what's happening rather than an actual recovery of prices. With that theory, my prediction is that we're going to, like, unless market conditions change, and as far as I know, the market conditions haven't changed, and in fact, they're possibly about to get worse tomorrow, like this week, as we're going to probably get some more rate hikes. In fact, almost certainly we're going to get at least 0.75%, possibly 1% rate hike, which is a massive hike. I don't know when the last time this has happened, as the Fed desperately tries to slow down inflation that, you know, still went up last week. And so I don't see the general market trend changing, but there's this short-term bounce here, and you might look at this and say, oh, things are recovering. I don't think so. I think things are going to continue going down. That's my belief. You might not believe that, and you should have your own beliefs about this, but I guess you dial in here because you want to hear what I believe, and that's what I believe. By the way, as usual, if you have any questions, feel free to type them up, and I'll do my best to answer them. So let's look a little bit at the charts here, because that's also why we're here. Now, why don't I have the brush anymore? What happened to my brush tool here? Oh, I need to select the right, sorry about that. Yeah, so if we look here at the top 10, we can see that, you know, if this wasn't such a disastrous time when the volumes are being driven up by basically a kind of market capitulation, this would look really amazing. We're back to bull times in the space of like a day or two. Of course, because we can see also the short-term chart, and of course the market health, because the one-day moving average is lagging behind slightly, we can see that this has already started going back down here. This is already collapsing back down, and chances are it's going to continue. I mean, maybe it's going to like have more capital. You know, if there's more bad news, there might be more sell-offs. So we might see a lot of activity, and in fact that happened back here. This was the Terra collapse, and we had a double sell-off, in fact, there. And that it didn't change the overall trend at all. It still continued going down, but there was a double sell-off of like volumes, and, you know, prices kind of bumped up a little bit, but then they continued going down. And here we might see also some volatility in the price, especially because of all these trader behaviors, and we might see a double spike, or we might see a single spike. But either way, I don't expect this to change the trend, and if anything, you know, the reality is we don't really know what the trend is. It looked like it maybe had bottomed out here, but if anything, having the kind of market conditions we have now might make things worse. So I wouldn't be too surprised. I ascribe a fairly high probability to the idea that we're going to drop below this recent lowest, like historic low, after this spike finishes, whether it's a single spike or a double spike or even a triple spike. I don't know how many spikes there will be. So yeah, it's one to watch. I mean, the market basically is garbage is a bit unfair. The market is really struggling right now. That's a fair thing to say. I mean, it was garbage around here when we had all those sort of like goblin things going on, but it's now no longer garbage. It's just down bad, and those spikes of volumes are people selling off. Except like actually, these volumes, this chart engine doesn't even take wrapped ETH offers in consideration. So this is actually like actually, let's look at, that's an interesting thing to do. Let me load up the new engine, which I've been trying to deploy to a website today, which I haven't quite succeeded yet. So where like it doesn't have any new changes to the way that the stuff works. But if we look at the reports of the current top 10, see, like with wrap teeth offers, this goes up to 249 with the current top 10, whilst here we only go to 159. So there's been like 100 wrap teeth offers accepted in that 4-hour period here where the peak happened, which is quite amazing. That's a lot of wrap teeth offers, like that people are just selling whatever means they can. It's a good time to make wrap teeth offers, I suppose. You have a fair chance that they'll be accepted. And yeah, so what was I going to say about this? Let me just, yeah, so the yeah, I mean the situation here is we can see this is dropping already. Even with the wrap teeth offers, we can see that there's a drop off in volume. I guess all the wrap teeth has been spent by now. And so what I expect is that this spike is, I mean, you can see that it's topping up, but it's going to start going back down. And unless there's a second spike that starts immediately afterwards, it's going to go straight back down. The fire sale already happened to Kansas, I'm afraid. So you're late on that one. That was yesterday. Now we're at the end of the fire sale. Although we might get a second fire sale soon. Who knows? If we look at the other indices, we see pretty much the same picture. I mean, you'd be forgiven for thinking these two look exactly the same. I mean, Zeneca Old and the top 10 are very, very similar. Even Zeneca New looks pretty damn similar. The only one bucking the trend somewhat is the Women-Led Projects Index, just because it's been like zigzagging so sharply all over the place here. But they're all getting this kind of spike of activity now, which is, you know, the fire sale. And it's not like I give this still a red, because I don't think this is healthy market activity. I think this is collapsing market activity. I think it leads us back to a place where healthy market activity can build up, but we're not there yet, and I wouldn't call us there yet. So again, feel free to ask some questions. I'm going to start looking at the crypto now, because I don't think there's that much more to look at in terms of the NFT charts. If we look at crypto and other indices and so on, we can see that, yeah, there was a lot of volume yesterday in this drop, and it was a very sharp drop, like a very thick candle there with very small wicks. And it's continued to drop today, and it actually wicked all the way down to like 20,700 or so, which is pretty bad. I mean, you know, if back when we were here, I thought there was a kind of uptrend going on. At that point, if you said, yeah, we're going back to from 40K to 20K, I would have been quite, I mean, I would have said it's possible. I think I did say that was possible, that we might go there, but I wouldn't have expected it to happen so quickly. This was back in May. It was about a month ago. So in a month, we've gone from 40K to there's been a halvening in a month. That's pretty impressive, and it's not finished. That's the other thing. So, you know, let me zoom in a little bit, because like the screen is just gigantic. If we zoom in a bit, we can see that, so this is still dropping. I mean, Rhea is rebounded a little bit right now, but you know, usually rebounds that end the downtrend look different. So if we look back here, here's a rebound that ends the downtrend. You see kind of massive wick, and then it rebounds. That's like a strong, and with a lot of volume as well. So if we kind of go to the 1 hour view and go back to that point, and see a bit what happened there. Yeah, I think it was around here. Yeah, we can see, like, you know, this massive candle there with lots of volume on this rebound, lots of people buying in, like big money, a substantial amount of money coming in. I mean, this is a volume of 7,000 bitcoins. That's pretty substantial. Whilst if we look at the present moment, sorry for all the scrolling, I know it's very terribly inefficient, there isn't really, I mean, there was a lot of volume on the down bit there. There's 4,000 bitcoins of purchasing there. It's like it's comparatively meek compared to what we saw before. It's more like a downtrend, a bit of a dead cat bounce, and I expect us to continue going down after this. Like, to me, the trend is downward from here. So, I mean, I hope we don't go to this where I've got my mouse. That's 13,000. That's pretty awful. Let me just have a look at the questions. Are you watching any former blue chip collections for scooping? You see the toad that sold for like 10K with the previous sale of 1 million. I'm not watching any blue chip collections for the simple reason that I don't believe that blue chip actually works as a concept in NFTs. In fact, to me, if a collection is called blue chip, it's probably a good sell signal. If any of my, like, you know, Llamaverse is probably my most expensive, well, Llamaverse and 333, but let's say Llamaverse is my most expensive NFT at the moment. If Llamaverse starts being called a blue chip, I'm selling half of it the next day. Because like that's, to me, that's the strongest sell signal when something is being called a blue chip. It means that all the value has already been accumulated. Basically, everybody thinks it's amazing, and at that point, it starts to go down. I'm not surprised that a so-called blue chip has gone like sold for a 1% of what it originally purchased for. That seems to be what happens to blue chips. I think my advice is, and I've written small threads about this, and this is in the course that I did for Zen Academy as well, and I've got loads of charts there demonstrating this across a whole bunch of stuff that used to be called blue chips. That basically this meme that blue chips are worth investing in, are a good place to park your money, is very, very bad. I suspect it got started by people who had those blue chips who wanted to sell them, and they need people to believe that this is a good place to park your money. All the projects I got told this is a great place to park your money, with the exception of Yuga Labs, and Yuga Labs has its own special bubble. All these other projects basically went down. Like I remember back in November, my wife wanted to invest something in NFTs. She wanted to put 3 ETH in, and I was asking around Llamaverse whether like where to put it, and I was thinking, well, maybe some sappy seals, something like spread the risk across multiple projects. And I got some advice like quite consistently from a number of people that no, the place to put it is Creature World, because it's definitely not going to go down because Shaquille O'Neal is involved and the creator is great and so on. And at the time, Creature World was like about 2.5 ETH or so, somewhere between 2 and 2.5, and it was definitely not going to dip any lower than that. Today, Creature World is at 0.3 ETH. I'm so glad I didn't put any of my money in that. And that was a solid blue chip. That was as solid as I could get at the time. And that's happened to a lot of those amazing blue chips. I mean, Cyberkongs used to be the blue chip like last summer, and Cyberkongs went down from highs of 200 ETH to about 20 ETH right now. So that's your 90% loss right there. BASE, well, the thing with BASE is, yeah, they have a massive cash pile. I think Yuga Labs is going to continue to thrive rather well because they have enough cash to survive all this and like build whatever the next thing is, if they have the competence to use that cash, which is not 100% clear. But what I'm not bullish on is the value of the BASE themselves. Yuga Labs might survive. That doesn't mean that BASE will still be worth 100 ETH in a year's time. My guess, which, you know, I've planted my stake in the ground, and I could be completely wrong about this, but that's where I'm guessing is going to end. I think that probably 20 ETH is about the right price for a BASE. I suspect the bubble will continue bursting and it will slowly drop down as the overall hype bubble sort of collapses. And BASE was one of the main beneficiaries of that hype bubble. It was the leader of that hype bubble. And as the hype bubble meta ends, I would not be surprised if BASE deflates down to 20 ETH and may see to about 3 to 4 ETH. 3 to 4 ETH for BASE doesn't, like, assuming it still delivers its club benefits, is not so bad. It's a decent price. And 20 ETH for the more fancy version, yeah, that's all right. 100, 150 ETH, that was Ponzi hype bubble prices, I think. That's my view. So I've planted my stake in the ground. We'll see where we are at the end of the year. If I'm wrong, I'll announce it quite happily. If I'm right, well, I'll also mention that. I've tweeted about it, so I'll have to find my tweet. And we'll see if I was right or not. Let's just have a quick look because, well, it's not past yet, so the US markets haven't opened yet. But just to get a sense of what's going on in the rest of the market, we can see that the FTSE is still dropping. And we still haven't arrived to this point where they're going to announce those rate hikes. So I think that's tomorrow. Yesterday, the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones, as predicted, like dropped below their recent lows. They made new lows, both of them, and the S&P as well. Like all the stock markets, everything is dropping. I suspect, like, I don't know where it's going to start today. It might do the same as the FTSE. So it might have a kind of like meh-ish dropping day, so not quite as sharp as before. But I think tomorrow, assuming that tomorrow is the day when they announce the new rate hikes, I think tomorrow will be the big day. Like, it's so weird because it's like, it seems that the bearish signal will be if they only do 0.5%, from what I'm reading, because if they do only 0.5%, which is already a massive rate hike, that means that probably they're not going fast enough and there'll be more pain later, so the markets might react negatively to that. If they do 0.75%, the market might still think that's not quite enough, and so might assume there'll be even more pain later. And it's actually, if they do the 1% rate hike, the max pain immediately, that some people are suggesting that the markets might react positively by saying, okay, like they're taking this seriously, they're really going to take down the inflation, so maybe we're not going to get too many more of those. But basically the sense is like I'm sure there's betting markets, Kansas. You can probably find it on one of those spread betting sites. You can probably spread bet on what the rates are going to be. But it's a bet, it's a gamble, definitely. We don't know what exactly it's going to be. If it's 1%, maybe people will think, okay, like, you know, that's it, that's the max pain, and it's going to get better from here. So we'll see. But basically the markets as a whole are just a complete fucking disaster. We're officially in a recession now. I think we've gone past a 20% drop. That's caused it, like that makes it a recession. Bitcoin is, I mean, it's currently around 22K, but I mean, who would be surprised if it goes to 20K during this week? I don't think anyone will be surprised if it actually wicks to 20K during this week. The thing that would be surprising and bad news to me is if it goes below 20K. I have no model in my head for what happens then. Like, I'll have to go and watch Ben Cohen and try and figure out what's going on there. In terms of NFTs, though, I don't think it's going to be good news. I think we're going to see more of those sell-offs. We're going to see more of those spikes. We'll get a double, triple, quadruple spike as everybody just sells out and like accepts all the wrapped ETH offers and stuff. And yeah, sort of market resets, which after the sort of general exuberance and euphoria we've had for about a year now, really. I mean, BASE was founded about a month ago. So yeah, maybe it will start at 16K afterwards, Bitcoin, as Kevin points out. I don't know. I don't know. This is outside my knowledge. I haven't looked at videos that explain, like, you know, what okay, so Ben Cohen said already 16K. So let's trust Ben Cohen. And if you want more information about this, watch the Ben Cohen, or watch any Ben Cohen videos. He's probably one of the most rational analysts of this out there. Eventually, maybe I'll aspire to have this kind of rational analysis for NFTs, but I need to build my tools a bit better, which he has amazing tools. I'm getting there. So yeah, what else is there to say? Yeah, if the crypto market and the stock market continue to do really badly, I think, like, my view is that the most hyped the NFT is, the more it's going to suffer as the market collapses, which is why I definitely wouldn't want to be invested in blue chips at the moment, and why I think BASE might be hit the hardest, because it is the most hyped of all the NFTs. It is the one that's riding hardest on that soap bubble of hype. And as the soap bubble pops, is the one that falls the hardest. Because then people don't believe, like, you know, like, most of the price of BASE is made up of belief, not of any kind of fundamental utility. At 20 ETH, maybe there is fundamental utility. At 100 ETH, no fucking way. And so I think what we're seeing right now is that, if I reopen it, that retracement, that kind of bouncing around, zigzagging around as the price goes down, because traders get in, and some of them do cash in some quick profits. And if you're good at this, then, you know, do it. And, you know, it's a risk, but you might make a fair chunk of money relatively quickly. I'm not good at this, so I'm not going to even consider doing this, but some people are pretty good at it. And even though the price goes down over time, you can still make a lot of money on these rebounds. And I think that's what we're seeing in these rebounds in prices. And I wouldn't trust it. I would not be buying in right now. I am buying occasionally into projects where I have huge long-term beliefs. So which NFT sets are considered blue chips are called? So Zeneca Old and Zeneca New don't have any view on blue chip. Zeneca Old and Zeneca New are, and by the way, you can find those in the description of the videos. So if I drag this here and we click on one of those videos and I press pause because I don't want to see this, we go. You can find here the data sets. There's a Google Doc here, which has all those projects. And a lot more of the Zeneca Old are projects that used to be considered blue chips. Like, I mean, Bored Ape, you know, Cyberkongs used to be like the ultimate blue chip. It was 80 when Zeneca stopped updating this. It's now 20. Which ones you consider blue chip? You know, it depends on what your views are. But back when I was getting started, the Doge Pound was definitely touted as a kind of like, you know, massively blue chip type thing. Deadfellaz was generally considered like, you know, very solid. Creature World, as I said, World of Women. World of Women is now back around the price that it was when this was made. It went up to 10, it went back down. Some of those projects have even died out, I think. And the Zeneca New is there below here. And that's somewhat newer projects. And yeah, so you can find all the data here. And eventually, like soon, fingers crossed, fingers super crossed, once I figure out how to deploy, I'm playing around with something called Docker and what's it called, Cap Rover, to try and upgrade my deployment practices on deploying software. And hopefully soon you can create your own indices and track your own indices. As soon as I can, I'll open that up. Be sure to join the Discord. I will ask there who wants an invite, like, because I will have to create accounts. I'm not going to open it up to everybody up front. I'll have just a few select people. So join the Discord. It's also in the description of the video. If you click here, you can join the Discord. And at some point I would say, all right, I'm ready to have a few users. And then if you pass me your email at that point, I'll create an account for you and you can log in and create your own indices and track your own indices. And it's pretty easy to create those indices. I mean, like, basically the way that I'm doing it is like there's here, I mean, obviously you'll have a screen that's a little bit less messy, and you'll have your own tag. There'll be global tags and there'll be your own tags, and you can, like, you know, type in the name of your tag, and then you just put a list of projects, either comma separated or white space separated, just the slugs from OpenSea, and that will just pick it up and turn it into this list. And then you can either view this like this. This is a simple view just to check. This is more the view to check that the index is working okay. So you can see all the transfers there below. And you can view, like, you know, like it gives, this is the reality check just to make sure that everything is okay. The actual interesting view is the report, where you can also select the tag and choose, like, you'll be able to choose whatever tags you want, and then you have this, you know, this brush chart here. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, this brush chart here, which allows you to zoom into different parts and, like, you know, look at it over the last year and so on. So this is request for derivatives indices. Show us the spike and plummets. Derivatives of what? Not by you, a collaborator with extra time. But derivatives of what? Derivatives of the indices. Is that what you want? This page is currently just running on, you can see here it says localhost. That's running on my computer right now. So this is not online right now. But I am working to put it online at the moment. And once it is online, the next thing will be to add, well, actually, before I tell anybody where it is, the next thing will be to add some authentication, so that it's not just, because, like, right now anybody can click on, like, you know, make the page refresh all the collection stuff, and most of the collections aren't loaded and stuff. So there'll be two steps: one, add authentication, and two, start syncing a lot more of these collections, because right now I have only a small subset of them synced to my local machine, and on the final machine there's about 15,000 collections in this list. And it's, yeah, I need to script it also so that it picks up new, not here, there's a kind of, this is also part of my control panel. I can get it to crawl OpenSea, and it goes and it looks at the first 10 pages of top collections on OpenSea. And if we refresh this, okay, actually, once it finishes, it will add to this processing queue whatever new collections it finds there. And then those can be added to the collections list. And you don't need to know about all these behind the scenes details, but I'm sharing them because why not? What does it say here? Is the page already online? Goblin Punk AI. Oh, those derivatives. You're just being mean, the Kansas. But you know what? Anyone can go and create that index if they want to afterwards, and you'll see the spike of volume and then the crash as the whole thing just dies. Goblins being the only one I think that's currently surviving this meta. And even they had a pretty substantial drop in prices. I wouldn't be surprised if they keep, you know, doing an Azuki and sort of like oscillating downwards. It's now 31 past, by the way, so let's just have a quick look at where the US markets are opening, because they're open. And yeah, as I expected, it's not as sharp a drop. It's not like a separated candle, but it's probably not. It's probably going to be similar to the UK candle here, this thing, where it's going to be like, you know, lots of volatility and generally downwards, but not as sharply as yesterday. That's what I'm expecting to see from this today. If I was a betting man, I would short the market, but I've got other things to do. Right. Okay. I feel like we're getting to the end of this. And thank you very much for dialing in. I hope the sound quality is okay, despite the fact I'm using the laptop microphone rather than my proper microphone. And yeah, I hope this is still enjoyable, despite the state of the market, maybe because of the state of the market. As usual, I really appreciate your attention. Thanks for dialing in. And I look forward to sharing more chart stuff with you. And I really want to get this thing online, which I hope in the next few days to be able to have it online and then start syncing all the other projects. Let's see if new projects have appeared here. See, 78 new projects have appeared here now. And if I go and click process, they get turned into collections in that list over here. And then by the moment they'll have 0 transfers, and then the transfers need to be synced as well. There's a few steps there, but we'll get there. It's actually, it's simple and complicated. It's a lot of edge cases and stuff. Like, you'd think that, you know, Ethereum would have like structured data, but everybody produces lots of garbage in the stuff, and that's not even counting stupid marketplaces like X2Y2 and LooksRare, which have loads of wash trading going on. And when I notice that, I have to go and, like, you know, filter out, like, this collection is out. This one, I'm not sure why this one is out. Yeah, this one is probably out because it has like I think it was because it had ridiculous amounts of transactions going on like forever, and it's like some kind of game or something. I don't know how the hell it did it, but that's why it's red, because it's not going to be synced. I don't want anybody to sync it, at least of all myself. Okay, cool. Well, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow for another update. And remember, this stuff is all just, as we said yesterday, lies on the screen. Life is not this. Don't worry about this. Play this game if you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, there's plenty of other things to do in life. See you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Take care.